Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The acting CEO, the chairman of FEA, gives me much pleasure to be here at the launch of the FEA annual report. As the chair has highlighted, notwithstanding the fact that the overall net profit compared to the previous year has dropped, it is nonetheless on a year-to-year comparable basis still an increase. Now, the chairman has highlighted, in fact, the reasons as to why you've had such good profit margins. But one fundamental issue that I'd like to highlight, which is very, very critical, and because I think, given there's a lot of talk about, particularly during this election period, there's a lot of misinformation, but the fundamentals of running any entity on a commercial and financial basis, we must always keep a focus on that. And the reality is that FEA, like all other state-owned enterprises or statutory bodies, must maintain a level of profitability to be able to reinvest in its assets. Because if you don't do that, then, for example, infrastructure like Monasavu, infrastructure like Nandaribatu, even your lines, etc., cannot be maintained. And we will then be playing an enormous catch-up game, which means enormous amounts of capital investment after a period of time. So if you have a certain level of profitability that allows you to invest back into your assets. Now, with assets, I don't just mean physical assets. I also mean human resources. Because you need to continuously, for example, upgrade the capacity of the human resources with any organization. Whether it's a training or exposure to new technology, new methodologies of running an organization, administrative section, the technical section, the engineering section, all of that needs to be upgraded continuously. And that reinvestment is always very critical. I remember hearing one of the politicians saying, oh, they made this much money, that means we can reduce electricity rates by 50%. Actually, that is not true. You can't simply do it just because 1 year you've had a huge margin. Yes, we should be able to be in a position to be able to bring down the cost of energy in Fiji, which we did last year. The chairman would have highlighted in terms of profits that we reduced electricity rates by 5% last year. Obviously, there's enormous capacity to continuously do that. We're of course not going to have zero rate at one stage, but the point is we can continuously do that. But what is also more critical, there are still many Fijians in Fiji who don't have electricity. Many people, many isolated areas, and the cost of bringing electricity as quoted by FEA, where government is now contributing, is still quite high for them to actually contribute towards. So our purpose is multi-pronged. Our purpose is to ensure that FEA maintains a particular level of capacity, financial capacity, asset management capacity, human resource capacity, and to be able to maintain that continuously. So it remains a viable proposition, remains a viable entity, fulfills its mission of providing electricity to everybody. The second aspect of it is, of course, we need to ensure that we get all Fijians to have electricity. It is very, very important. Many of us who live, all of us I'm sure in this room, have electricity in our homes. I've just been 2-3 days ago talking to people who actually don't have electricity. We take it for granted when you buy meat from the butchers that it will be in the fridge. We take it for granted that our kids don't have to adjust their learning studying patterns because the daylight has ended. Or they don't have to go and buy kerosene or lamp, etc. for them to study. We take all of these things for granted. But the reality is that many people don't have this very basic, fundamental amenity they do not have access to. So FEA must have the ability to be able to provide electricity to those people. We have been doing that, and government wants to in fact further enhance that post-September 2014. What is also critical, ladies and gentlemen, is to, like I said, apart from investing in the infrastructure, we need to invest in our human resources and have the right people to do the right job. And when we bring them into the fold, when we bring them into the entity, we continuously provide them with the training and give them a self-belonging and self-worth within the organization. So today I'm quite happy to also announce a bonus payment that will be paid out to all staff of FEA. But before I get to that, I'd like to also mention the Chinese loan that the chairman mentioned. That Chinese loan has now been refinanced through Westpac. Now what that means is that we are able to pay off a loan that had high interest rate. It now attracts a lower interest rate. So in other words, it's a positive impact on the margin of FEA. It also means that we reduce the exposure we have to foreign exchange rates. So now the loan is paid in Fiji. The money stays in Fiji, which is again a very positive outcome that we've got from FEA's management of the finances. So these are many of the changes that have taken place. I'm sure some of you, in particular members from the media, would have some questions. The third point before I finish off and come on to the bonuses is the issue of renewable energy and independent power producers. The chairman said, you know, the rate of electricity has gone up, and I saw the reporter from Fiji Times put his head up. He thought, oh my God, electricity rate has gone up. No, electricity rate has come down. But the rate that now FEA can pay to independent power producers is a lot more attractive. In other words, FEA can pay up to 33 cents a unit to an independent power producer. What that means, in very simple terms, is that FEA does not have to do the initial investment. You don't have to go and build something on your own. The independent power producer will do that for you, and they will then also supply it to the grid. The two things, of course, the investment capacity can be reduced. That means you have a lot more finances available to you. Secondly, as an organization, and secondly, most of the IPPs, or independent power producers, are focusing on renewable energy. So apart from the fact that we now will purchase less fossil fuel, it also means our environment will be a lot cleaner. So it's a long-term goal, it's a long-term vision. And any organization, any government, any organization, any institution must not think up till its nose. It must think about the future. You must plan about 10, 15, 20, 30 years ahead. Many of the countries that have become great today have become great only because they had a long-term vision. And the example that I give, which is my favorite example, before I come to the bonuses, is that the airport in Lambasa, when they built it, if you look at it, the river sort of goes in a bend like. So somebody very clever decided to put the runway between the bend. So the river goes like this, they put the runway here. But when they built that airport, they did not think that the population one day will increase, that we'll have bigger planes that may want to land in Lambasa, because on the other side of the river, there's flat land as far as your eyes can see. Seriously, a lot more flat land than you have in Nandi. But if they were clever enough, if they had a long-term vision, if they thought about the future, they'll put the runway on the other side. Today now, to relocate the Lambasa airport is going to cost you tens of millions of dollars, if not $100 million. So if they had a long-term vision, they would have put the runway there. We could have now added the strip to the airport. We could be landing our ATR 72s. Today ATR 72 can go to Lambasa, but they only carry 42 passengers. So the cost of the air ticket will also remain high. So the people of Vanuatu miss out. We stop the tourism. We stop those people from coming to Suva or other parts of Fiji at a cheaper rate. It stops us from having an international airport in Vanuatu very quickly. So that's just an example. In the same way, when FEA knows there's going to be energy requirements from now till probably Kingdom Come. So how are we going to have our plans in place? What is the long-term goal? What are we going to do in terms of infrastructure? How are we going to invest in our people so they stay with us and they grow with us and we're able to continue to provide energy requirements for all Fijians, give access to all Fijians, but also at the same time ensure that it's affordable. So ladies and gentlemen, with those few words, I'd like to now announce that we are paying out today, effective from today. CEO? Yeah. Next pay? A bonus payout of $1.3 million to all the staff. It goes to the 737 salary and wage earners. It also goes to the 27 unit leaders and also the 9 executive management team. So I'd like to, with those words, acknowledge the contribution, the hard work, the dedication of all the staff of FEA. Thank you very much for your contribution. We value your contribution. We want you to stay in the organization. We want you to have international standards. As you know, that we are looking at some private sector participation in FEA. I think it will be very, very exciting to have that level of investment. but without the human resources, that won't be achievable. So thank you very much, and please let's put our hands together for all of you and let's contribute to that, to the chair and his board, and also to the executive management through the acting CEO. And thank you.